more used in like restaurants and bars, and it basically says welcome, and it's basically like saying, "Am I welcome here?" And then basically any Turkish person would say something along the lines of in Arabic, you know, yes, you are welcome. It's kind of a sign, another sign of respect in the Turkish culture. Um, and I guess the return of that would be Holst Balduct, Balduct, which means we feel welcome. Um, and then like during social gatherings, if you're like invited to a party or a chrysanthemum or whatever, um, and this is what I find funny. This tells you how social Turkish people are. Um, so even if you don't know the family at all, or you've only known them for a little while, their motto, I guess, is like more the merrier. So the more people that are there, the better. Um, so like a person will update you on everything when you're there. Um, and um, and then I guess this is interesting. And this is probably just interesting to me because I'm almost 21, but whatever. Um, Alcohol is served at any ceremony depending on like the family and like their background, because some Muslims don't drink, like they find it disrespectful to like Allah, their God or whatever. Um, so I guess it's traditional to buy the guest of honor small pieces of gold from a jewelry shop or give them money. Um, they're not widely recognized, like wrapped presents aren't widely recognized in Turkey, so you never really want to give, sorry, white balance is off. You never really want to give them wrapped gifts, I guess, because it's not very common. And then when you're invited to somebody's house, you basically, um, you basically go in and say like that phrase of welcome, and then if they say the return phrase, then you're welcome to step into their house. Once again, just a sign of respect. Um, and I guess you can't wear your shoes in a Turkish house, so they give you a complimentary pair of slippers to wear around their house. Um, I guess Turkish people are very into also their families, um, because if you go into a Turkish household, you're gonna get fed. You're gonna feel like you're Greek instead of Turkish, because I guess it's one huge platter after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. Um, and I guess Turkish are kind of like Russians because we don't take no for an answer and they don't either. So, um, and then of course it's served, I guess, served with popcorn, nuts, fruits, cake, followed by tea and Turkish coffee. And this is interesting as well. If the family's from like a big city, you will be eating at a table. Um, However, if the family is a little bit more poor or lives in a village, you will be eating at like a wooden slab that is put on the floor in the main room. And then reaching for food from the middle of the table. And then Um, and then I guess it's just kind of tradition. And I kind of found tradition that if you, or not even tradition, but if you basically say to the chef or whatever, um, if you say to the cook, Eleni's Sagalik, to the cook, this is like a sign of health to your hands and like shows to the cook that you appreciated the meal that they cooked. Um, so yeah. Um, I found this particularly interesting. This is not something you find in America very often. So, and this is not the part, but like during big meals and stuff, the women will prepare the meal. Um, so they'll prepare the meal. Um, and then like when it's time to clean up, they don't they don't wash their dishes like Americans do. They basically have a wash basin, um, per se. Um, and I'm gonna read this because this is kind of hard to explain. Um, so they do not believe in bathing or washing the items in stagnant water. Therefore, there will be a wash up bowl or basin, but after they will rinse the plates and cutlery under a running tap. That is also why and I guess there's no plugs in hotel sinks either. So, yeah, that's a bit of background on the Turkish social customs. Um, Definitely a lot of IPC coming through there, especially with the women not allowed in certain areas, as well as respect to the people of the house before you enter the room or stuff like that. Uh, so yeah. And then, sorry, my computer's freaking out on me. And then, so here's the other thing I want to mention. And I'm going to kind of resort back to, the tradition per se, or the original source of Turkish delights. So flour was used to hold like the water and the starch together because water, starch, and flour were kind of the three main components that made up Turkish delight before, um, or flour, or flour and water, and I guess the fat from a cow is what I'm guessing because we researched something along the lines of that like the fat from a cow I guess is more enriching and it has more of those fatting qualities to put into a Turkish delight. Um, so flour was kind of more used as a bonding agent before starch was introduced. Um, and I guess locum is produced by using like the old as time progressed. It was used by or produced by making or mixing sugar, cornstarch, and water in certain portions and then adding fruit and nuts. Um, and like before it became so popular, it was used mainly towards the Christmas time, and I guess that's just because it was so rare then. Um, you know, as as it grew, they say that uh, you know how chocolate was is Turkey's worst enemy because it kind of dwindled their Turkish delight supply per se. Um, and it mainly spread throughout Europe first before it came to America. Um, that I can't think of the name. Uh, Liberty Orchards. There we go. Um, so and there were very many kinds throughout. Like there were slight differences between Turkey and the rest of the world of how they made it. Um, and this is according to Wikipedia.org. Um, so, in Bulgaria, similar forms were made, but they used like white walnuts or arandesh. Um, and then in Greece, they had mollustic flavors. I don't know what mollustic is. I'm not Greek, I guess. And then of course we know the main. Well, now I know the main source of the American Turkish delight. 1930, Liberty Orchards was opened by two Araman immigrants. Araman Teresigan. I'm gonna butcher these names. And Mark Ballbend. And they create confections like applets, which is apple and walnut Turkish delights. And they're like the largest American producer of Turkish delight. And then they also made cotlet, which is apricot and walnut Turkish delight. And honestly, that might sound a little bit better than rose. Then we won't seem like we're eating our mother's perfume. And then in Brazil, it was just known by a different name, which is Manjar Turco. So yeah. And I think that's about it. I really, really enjoyed this project. I thought it was really interesting. I really appreciate you letting me do this over again. Because I was able to come up with a couple more sources. By the way, I just wanted to mention that Caitlin was great. I am sorry I didn't get the peer review in on time. Caitlin was great. I mainly helped look up recipes for Turkish delight. And she did most of the research for our presentation. She was great. We didn't really have any problems communicating. We were pretty openly communicating with one another. I honestly probably couldn't ask for a better partner. I was a little bit lacking in the partnership because, and that's why we were so off during our presentation, is because I was supposed to go meet with her at 10 o'clock that morning, and I had overslept, and so we pretty much just winged it, and that's why we didn't seem so prepared, was because I wasn't prepared. So, that's kind of a verbal overview of my peer review, if you want to put that in as well. Alright, Jordan, I will talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.